Hey everyone, Sajil Qureshi here with another episode of RevOps 500, where we interview some of the world's greatest RevOps minds there are, and today is absolutely no different. Right now, I'm joined with Joaquin Interlandi. He's a RevOps guru. Welcome to the show, Joaquin.
Hi, Sachin. It's a real pleasure to be with you, and thank you for the invitation. And yeah, let's hope to have a really nice chat and see what we can learn.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, Joaquin. So, I mean, just to get us started off right off the bat, what is your biggest mistake?
Okay, I don't know which one is going to be the biggest one, but I know one that happened to me not
All
that
right.
long time ago. So, I work with Salesforce, like HubSpot, all the different CRMs, and it was a simple task, just do like a backfill of contacts in HubSpot, just close dates. We wanted to like update everything to be just one date because it was all data and it was going to be deleted. And then what happened was actually that I did the update, everything was fine, but I didn't check any of the workflows that were involved. So I started to send emails and change statuses, in the contacts for 50,000 people. So it wasn't that fun. And I remember sending the message, in the Slack channel to the client, like, hey, I did this backlog. This is perfect. And he was like, are you sure? I've seen something weird. I was like, okay, what happened? So I learned quite a few things.
All right. Well, what are some of those things that you learned? I don't know if people can see the reaction, but right when you said you updated the record of 50,000 contacts, I kind of dropped my mouth wide open because that's a pretty big
Yeah,
one. So
it is,
what
it
did
is.
yeah what did you learn? What did you learn, Joaquin, from all that?
So actually, there is a way you can either like, uh, of course, like turn off all your workflows automation that are involved with like that's the baseline, best practices. But I don't know why I didn't check. Was like just let's do this. So don't do that, please. But what you can do is you can actually add into the canvas of your workflows, wait, action just like for an hour. And if you have like a lot of contacts that are going to be enrolled, they are going to be held like in that 1 hour duration. So you can actually delete later that 1 hour duration, and those are going to be fully removed from all your workflows. That's something that I learned was like, that's interesting, but I trust more in like deactivating everything just for like 10 minutes and then go with the other stuff. So it wasn't fun. And also you can have like the property history, in HubSpot. So I have to backtrack the stages, like all the changes, like it happened in the span of like 10 minutes. The stages move like 5 or 6 times. So I have to like, you know, do a lot of crazy stuff to put everything as it was, and crazy morning that I have that day.
And it was just one morning. You had the whole thing resolved in one day, more or less, or how long did it take to?
Like the biggest initial conflict, it was a whole day of work. But the rest, like the whole, I would say was like easily around like 3 days.
Three
So
days.
yeah,
3 days. And you enrolled 50,000 people in a workflow that did not
yeah.
that should not have been in a workflow. And they get all these emails and communications. And how did you communicate back to those people? What were some of the steps you took? Did you like say, "Oops, sorry," or did you do anything like that, or what was the
Yes.
cleanup to the
So
end users?
yeah, so with the client was, first of all, he was the one that raised the flag. So I was like, damn, we had a really good relationships. You can be really like not that formal with them. It was like a really conversation. I was like, oh crap, I messed up. Sorry, I'm going to fix that like ASAP. So it wasn't that term, but it was like, okay, first let's see what happened. What did we send? And we prepped, like an email to say like, hey, sorry, if you receive an email from this saying this, please dismiss. Was like a bug glitch in the matrix kind of email. So we were doing some testing. Sorry if you've received this. And then it was a slow process. So when you have like this type of chaos, don't start to click buttons, do a lot of crazy things at the same time. Just go a step back, see the whole picture, and go step by step, one by one, and see, okay, so this is step one, two, and three, like priorities. So it won't happen again.
And would you have considered yourself a diligent person with workflow creation and with workflow enrollment before you had this mishap? I mean, or you think to yourself, no, sometimes you can be a little bit, you know, relaxed, or I mean, was this like a problem you've had before at all, or you never had it before this time?
I think it happened to me like once or twice because, I mean, for having these issues, you're going to learn a lot. Like, don't be afraid of failing and doing bad things because it would happen to you in your career. It doesn't matter if you are like a 10-year-old or 20 expert. Sometimes it's happened, it's the human error that you're going to have. So it happened to me 2 or 3 times because it was like a checkbox that it didn't check, or when you are like more in the Salesforce environment and you are doing a push to production and you push the flow and it was active, so it triggered and you have a bunch of things happening at the same time. So sometimes happen. Usually it doesn't. So I'm really careful. Like I have like my best practices. I'm like, okay, this is deactivate and everything, but it can happen. It's like the human error is always there.
How many how many how many workflows have you created in your career? Hundreds, maybe thousands of workflows, right? I mean, in your career. So having it
Yeah,
happen once or twice is a pretty good pretty good
it's a pretty good
ratio.
balance.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
good balance, right? So I mean, now what happened with the client? I mean, you guys were pretty casual, you guys were friendly. Were you still friendly after that, or was it hostile? What was the situation like?
At first, it wasn't like the best communication of like, hey, you did this. And
Yeah,
then
guess
they
what?
started to poke, yeah. And then they started to poke me around with that. They started to make jokes, around it because the reports were like really messed up from that. But from that chaos, we discovered that they were missing quite a lot of data. So good things and bad things happened at the same time. And they were, this dashboard is not working because someone they did that this kind of joke. I was like, man, sorry, this happened a month ago. I'm going to keep saying sorry, but
And
I mean,
they were still your client though. They never
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're still a client. Yeah.
so
So
they never
it's a
let
funny
you.
bit.
All right, good. So it's like an inside joke now at this point, right? You know, you can kind of,
Yeah. For me, it's not funny, not even at this point anymore. But well, I take it as a joke. So yeah.
and how did it affect your day overall? Like, were you able to close it off and go home and sleep that night, or were you like, thinking about it? I mean, did you talk to your family about it? Like,
It's so funny.
what was the fallout of it all?
So yeah, actually, I mean that morning I was kind of sleepy. It was like early. I was like, "Oh, okay, start of the day, start to see how the planning is going to be like priority for me for clients. I got that message and was like wide open eyes. Holy, it was like a shot of adrenaline, like the blackest coffee you can imagine. It was super like hyper woken up. And then when I got home, I talked with my wife. I was like, "Do you know what happened to me today?" She was like, "Oh, what happened?" I explained the conversation. Was like, "Oh, that's a big mess up." I was like, "Yeah." But when I touched the bed, I like died. I was so exhausted because the stress of that situation, it was a lot.
I can imagine. 'Cause even if the client is okay with it because you're friends with them, but you have the clients now who you're going to be or you're affecting. And I wonder if did the clients ruined the client's day, and then the client went and ruined your day or something like that. There was none of that circle that happened at all, where the clients were like, "What is this?" Or we're so upset at to that. Were they complaining to your client at all about anything, or no, they didn't, as far as
No,
you
I
know?
think they raised a flag, like, hey, what about this email that some people got? They were like, we did some. if you're transparent and honest, is way better. You cannot play like being a fool and like, oh no, I don't know what you're talking about. This must be an error. No, if I'm not wrong, they were transparent. Like we were doing this thing, like it went wrong, but we have this communication. They already gone to all the people who received the email, so don't worry about it. We solved it on our end. So I think it went good. It could have been like worse than pure chaos, but it wasn't. So I got safe that time.
Yeah, and I think that people are pretty understanding of these things, right? Because it does happen so often, right? Where an automatic email goes out to the wrong group, and then they have to say, "Oops, sorry, this is the right one. Sorry, you can ignore that." I feel like nowadays it's becoming much more common, right? Because
Mm,
we have so much power in these tools, like a CRM, like a workflow enrollment. I mean, we have so much power, and like, don't you think that they're happening more often now than maybe in the past, or no?
I think right now we need to be more careful with the AI and all these copy that is created from AI, because I have seen some cases also, on LinkedIn, if you are in the AI niche and everything, you're going to see that it was a case here in Argentina that someone created an article for a newspaper, and the guy didn't review. Often when you are having explain this to me, and in the last part of the text is going to say, so I hope this goes, I don't know, this is proper to you and everything with the line and everything. And it was on the newspaper. I was like, man, just be careful. I'm not saying
Yeah,
don't use AI,
yeah,
just use it wisely. Pay attention to
yeah.
detail, like the devil is in the details.
Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned that because like what you're saying is AI usually says, "I hope this is good for you," and then they ask a question afterwards. Do you want me to, add some more to this? And then you're saying that those last two sentences actually made
Yeah,
it to the. Yeah, just that's the devil is in the devil is in the details. It's funny that you mentioned that because like they say the devil's in the details, but God is also in the details, right? Heaven
yeah,
is also in the detail as well, but we often forget that, right? The path to both, right? Like path to
yeah,
heaven
that's
and
it.
hell is built with good intentions, right? That's what they say.
Yeah, that's totally true.
So I mean, like, did any of your processes change now? I mean, like, now say you have this disaster happen, right? You enroll people in a workflow, and the workflow runs for 50,000. I think it's 50,000 contacts.
Mhm.
And does your process change at all now when it comes to creating workflows and managing contact data after this thing has happened, or is it the same? Your whole
And no, it
process.
changed. It changed a little bit. And
How
now
does it
I
change?
always like double, like triple, quadruple check everything before doing something. But like in trigger conditions and everything, I always use, okay, like let's say if we are speaking about contacts or companies, if I doing some testing, I always use, testing like the label of the name. So in the triggers, I have this whole criteria, and I add, and, name is test and the owner is like me, like Joaquin. So I'm always sure that if something goes wrong because the workflow, I don't know, I'm missing a piece or I didn't saw it, it's going to send anything that trigger to me, only me. So I take
So you
these
change it.
steps to have like a safety guards or safety mesh around the whole processes of testing and doing these kind of things.
And like, and when you work with colleagues, do you tell them to do these same sorts of things? Like, or maybe if they're younger than you are, not as experienced, do you also tell them to set things up that way, to maybe send the workflows to themselves first, or enroll them and them only? Do you do those sorts of things, or you don't?
Yeah, always. I think if you share your mistakes, people are going to learn more than your wins, because this is also related. I do a kind of posts in LinkedIn that like RevOps, like no BS, to be more family friendly. And you're going to see a lot of people that is going to show you the good side of the coin and I want to show the bad side of the coin because things might go wrong, could go wrong, and they will go wrong at one point. So you need to be prepared for those kind of things. So actually here at Reflect, I have a coworker that is fairly new into like Salesforce, HubSpot, everything. I'm like, okay, so when you are doing X thing, be careful for this, and this because this might happen, and we don't want to happen that. It happened to me, and explain the whole story because if you are able to tell a story behind it, you're going to learn more about it, and you're going to be able to digest it and say, okay, so that's a bad thing, so let's not do that again. So those sort of things I do.
Yeah, you pay attention more too, right? If someone tells you don't do this because I did this one time and you have a story behind why you do something,
Hmm.
that story is going to stick to someone who's learning. So I mean that's
Hmm.
interesting that you put it that way. And like what about the tools themselves? Like, HubSpot, Salesforce, CRMs like this. Do you feel like they do a good enough job of giving the guardrails so people don't, you know, send workflows to
For a
50,000
few
contacts?
things, I mean, for that, no, neither of both like do that. But the
Yeah,
one
how could they
thing,
how could they be better? Joaquin, how could they be better? How could they be better in your opinion?
just one last, pop up like window in your screen. Are you sure you are about to enroll like 50,000 people into this? Just with that, I'm happy with it. It doesn't have to be like crazy. Just one last step that adds a little more of friction, maybe, but it's a really good guardrail. Like you are about to enroll. I think HubSpot now does it. It's going to tell you at,
Mm,
at the end X amount of contacts meet the criteria. Do you want to enroll them or not? But maybe make it a little bit more bigger. It doesn't happen again. Salesforce, I think it might has a lot of room for improvement on that because when you want to do a bulk or mass delete of things, Salesforce is like delete, yes, okay, remove
done.
everything, none. And
No
HubSpot
recycle bin.
does no exactly. Well, you have a recycle bin, but it's not the best.
Yeah, not the same.
So in HubSpot, you have one thing that I really enjoy. So if you select, I don't know how is the minimum number, but if you do like a mass deletion, it will prompt you to a window and you will have to type a
Mhm.
code that is there. So you actually
Okay.
have to do something before you.
Something.
Yeah. So I think that's a thing Salesforce might be doing for sure. Like they need to do that. They need to implement something like that.
Yeah, that'd be like that's the thing also with the tools, right? There can be a little bit unforgiving. Are
Hmm.
you sure this will be 50,000 people? I mean, there's no amount of right way to do it because people, like you said, are always going to make mistakes. However, it could be a little bit harder to make those mistakes sometimes.
Yeah. But always like don't rush things, pay attention, and if you don't know, ask. I mean, if it's a dumb question, just ask. Don't be afraid of asking. That's one of the main things I would get from all my experience. Always ask.
So yeah, so I'm going to ask you a dumb question then. At the top of our conversation, you mentioned that there was a couple of things that you have as big mistakes. So you talked about this one. I'm curious to know, like, are there any other examples in the record book that
Yeah,
I
man, I'm getting roasted today.
yeah, because
So,
you said well, I got a couple, and I said, oh, interesting, a couple. So like, let's see.
so I can switch like CRMs. I can go to Salesforce. I remember there
Yeah,
was
yeah, go. Yeah.
it was in a previous company. It was the first time for me. This was like 4 years ago around.
Okay, 4 years ago, sure.
So a little bit more, I think was like five or something like that. And AI wasn't a thing. And if it was really, really bad. You had those videos that are like creepy and kind of stuff. So I started to learn about flows, but the loops, like how to use loops inside flows. And I just need to do like something similar to a CPQ,
Okay.
So, it will iterate from each contact that you store in a variable, and it will create it and also add it into an opportunity. What you just needed to do was to, in the opportunity, click a button, and it will do it for you. The issue with that, I didn't know at the moment, when you click the button, it started to do a loop and it wasn't stopping. I don't know why. It started to add and add and add products into an opportunity, and it would stay like that. So
Okay. Why?
it was an already built flow. And the big issue here was that I deactivated. I went to the previous version. Let's say we are in the 10th version. I went to the 9th. It was working good. 1 hour passed. It started to fail again. I went to the 8th version. So I said, okay, so people can keep working, and it stopped working. So it was like a horrible countdown of, man, everything is broken. It keeps breaking. I don't know what to do. I'm new. And it was
So
a
what?
huge project. So I was
So
like afraid.
what was the problem though? I mean, what was the issue?
So it wasn't an issue of mine. It's
Well, that's good.
actually, yeah, at least I encountered the issue, not in the best way, but when it had an apex inside the flow, and when they do this update of the code, they didn't update part of the code when they do a push from Sandbox. So
Oh,
they did, you can bypass like these validations that change sets have. You can use a test class that is really simple, and you have 100%, and everything works. So yeah, everything works, but
everything
really
works.
poorly. So they did the correct apex, they refreshed it, and everything was solved. But in that time, man, I was worried. I was like, everything is breaking, and it's a countdown like, when I'm going to be fired. It was like 10, 9, 8.
I mean, but you obviously didn't get fired for that, right? You didn't
No,
get
no,
like
no,
no, no,
not
no,
at
no.
all, not at all.
And
And
like,
the,
how
the,
did
the
you?
person was like, oh, yes, I forgot about it. Sorry, now it's solved. I was like, okay.
That was it. And you weren't like, are you crazy? You almost got me fired. You didn't have that kind of a conversation with them, like.
No, no, no. It was simple. It was a really, really simple thing. And when he explained it, it was just because the snippet of code. I was like, oh, okay, so no worries.
I could not be. I would be so afraid. Something like that happened. It's like a
Yeah,
slow death, right? It's like a slow pain, slow death,
yeah,
slow
it was
burn.
a really slow thing.
Man, I can't even like. I mean, how do you? I mean, what are people saying when that's going on to you? What do people say to you when this is happening? Do you like you say I don't know what's going on? I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, do you just lay all your cards down and that's it, or what do you do?
I'm open about it always. If something is happening and I don't know, I'm going to say you, I don't know, but I'm trying to figure that
That's
out.
good. That's good.
I
Yeah.
think this is the issue, but I'm like, I think so. Don't, grab it with pliers, as we say here in Argentina. So don't make it like the last decision. So I'm looking into it, but don't expect to have it solved maybe in like 10 minutes because I genuinely have no idea what's happening. So if you are transparent and honest, that's the thing. It would always help you.
That seems to work in your experience. That the more sincere and honest you are in what you know and what you don't know and what you're trying to figure out, the better off you will be.
Yeah, that's key, at least for me.
Yeah, yeah, I think that works. I mean, I think that's probably the best thing to do. If you know that maybe you have messed up something like you did with the contacts in the workflow, you have to come clean and say it. In the other case, with the Salesforce example, where you don't know what's happening, you just say, "Look, something is happening. I don't know what it is, though." Then you've got to like just at least be honest in both the cases, especially when it's something that you're going to get into trouble for if you're not honest, right? So may as well just come clean with it.
Yeah, and it's the same, when you are asked, hey, do you know about X tool? And you're like,
Mm.
yeah, I know a little bit about it. If you are going to be the only one who knows, like with quotes about it, Uh, like, be careful on what you say. Don't
Yeah.
be, I don't know how to say it. Be humble enough to say, I know, but I know and this, and that's it. I can learn and, I can research, I can do a lot of things, but if you need an expert now, this is the only things I know that I can help you with. If not, you're setting like crazy expectations and you're not going to be able to do it. And the only one that is going to be in the bad side of things is going to be you, because you're going to get the pressure and everything because you said, yes, I know about this. I can do it.
But I think I think who's asking you will also be feeling that pressure too because they would have
Yeah, for
trusted you
sure.
with that, and they would have, their trust would have been betrayed. So now they will look bad to whomever they're accountable to, right?
Hmm.
They'll look bad to like the people who said, oh, like say for example, if you're a musician and you say like, yeah, I can play the guitar, and then we go take you on the tour with us, and you cannot play the guitar, so what are we gonna do, right? Like, it's but that's going to make me look bad and you look bad, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
a double-edged sword. Both sides have to be very, very honest and do their homework and their diligence, especially in a time of like, oh, I think I know I did this, or I'm not sure. Times of problems, honesty really does, at least in your case, seems to have gone a long way.
Yeah. So I think what you said is like you nailed it, because you're building that trust again is it's not that easy always, because if you lose that trust you have with a coworker, a manager, or whatever, and they have something that they might send you to do it, they are going to doubt your work, and you don't want people to doubt your work because of one set you said, yes, I know, and you didn't have any clue about it.
Yeah, it creates a seed of doubt for no reason,
Mm,
and
yeah,
very hard to work when you doubt people's abilities and their confidence. If you can't believe what they're saying, then that's a problem, huge
yeah,
problem.
it is.
So Joaquin, where can people learn more about you, your story, and what you're up to these days?
So today I'm actually, moving, like today's 15th. So I don't know when this is going out, just to give a time perspective on everything. I'm transitioning to a new company. I'm going to be a solution consultant, actually. So I'm going to be working closely at Momentum.io. That's the company name. So, they have
Okay,
the product, which is really cool. You can check it out if you want to later. And I'm going to be doing a lot of interesting, stuff around like RevOps, Salesforce, and CSM. So it's going to be interesting.
and where can people learn more about you? Is what's the best way to do that? If we're for them to get into contact with you.
Oh, LinkedIn, I think is the best. If you send me a message, I'm open to speak. Or I don't know, maybe a comment in one of my posts, whatever. Just send me a message. I'm always open to chat and have these like small coffee talks, e-coffees, let's call it.
E-coffees.
So I'm always open to that. And I really, really love to chat with people and get to know like stories and experiences, because my path is not the same as yours and the other people. So I'm always wanting to speak. Sometimes I speak a lot, which I've been told. I can speak to the wall. So for me, it's not an issue at all.
You can speak to them all.
Yeah,
Nice, nice. Well, I mean, look, Joaquin, it's been amazing having you on. Thanks for sharing. Most of the time people share one mistake, but you were a giver. You're a very generous person, and you shared two mistakes on two different CRM platforms for two
yeah.
totally different RevOps 500 audiences, and that is a record and a first, my friend. So you are an award winner in that regard. So your mistakes have won
Yeah.
you awards, RevOps 500 awards. So
Thank
thank you
you
for
for that.
coming on. Yeah, we it was thank I really appreciate you jamming with me today on it.
Thank you for the invitation, and always eager to chat with you.
All right, and if anybody out there was listening and enjoyed it, go reach out to Joaquin on LinkedIn, give him a shout. He loves e-coffee talks, and he says he can talk to a wall. I believe it. I think he can. So yeah, go ahead and do that. So this has been another episode of RevOps 500. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. Take care.